strategic planning and what we wanted to do tonight. We got Austin from the committee and Julie as well. What we wanted to do is bring forward what we've got so far, share with you how we got here, and then try to get some consensus on what we've got, changes needed, and then kind of next steps. And we'll go back in and figure out how we come back again, gather information. So, the idea is, I think Julie gave you an update on the council meeting that I missed, that there's 3 focus areas: municipal services, economic development, and quality of life. And that's pretty standard for most communities. They may have a 4th in there. So I think the council agreed, let's focus on those as our focus areas. So the process that we did to try to figure out what our strategic plan should be in those focus areas was to take all the input that we gathered so far. And I sent you guys, I don't know if we had handouts or not.
I printed them and stapled them and left them in my office. I can go get them if you would like.
I'll leave that up to Jerry. Doesn't have anything, so it's up to you. If you can see this, I'll try to blow it up even more.
I was advised I wouldn't need it.
What's that?
That's
I was
because
advised
I saw the email.
What?
Well, Jerry asked me, do I need my computer thing? I said, no. Scott said he's having printouts and it'll be on the
I
TV.
think Lynn may be going to get it, but we can expand this. So what we did here, and Austin really took the initiative to start this thing, is there's 5 pieces of information that we had. Starting with the council workshops that Patty had with us, both on kind of the ideation pieces, in the output of those, which there were 2 sessions and like a final output that she presented. So we took all that information, as well as the citizen conversations that were held, the first and second versions of that. So we took all those comments from those 5 sessions and really just tried to put those in these 5 focus areas. So, you had a comment around, keep bold and beautiful, where does that fit? So we made some, arbitrary decisions, and we can debate on any one of these, but we think we came up with a pretty good representative sample of all the input in these 3 focus areas based on all those conversations. So that's the data we're working from. So the next step is then, okay, so we have these focus areas, we have all this input. So what we did the last meeting or so is we tried to develop some key performance areas. So in other words, municipal services is a thing, right? But what does this data tell us? What do we want to use as our key performance areas that we're going to actually go put strategies around in each one of these focus areas? So the intent for tonight is to review what the committee has in those areas as suggestions for key performance areas, and then also revisit the vision and make sure it still makes sense. And so the question really kind of comes down to, do you want to set the vision statement and then try to make your key performance areas line up with that, or vice versa? Do you want to kind of come up with the key performance areas and then see what that does to the vision statement? So that's a question for the group. Any preference?
I prefer the vision statement first.
Okay. And then see if what we have fits into that.
Get as far as you can, and then see if you can.
Anybody else have any feedback on that? You want to revisit that?
Yeah, we can look at the vision statement now and see kind of what the council's thoughts are based on the vision statement we came up with.
Yep.
And see if there's any recommendations.
Okay.
And then we can do the next step on.
Yeah, we will do that. Let's just try to get through that. And if we get stuck, we'll table it and make sure we get through these key performance areas tonight. So what I have here, let me expand this. Probably too large. All right.
Jerry, can you hear that?
So the current vision statement's at the top. And then what I pulled from the final output from Patty's session for what the community what she pulled forward is what she thought the community vision was, or thought it should be for the city. So, I don't think they're all that far off, but just another data point for everybody. So let's talk about the current vision statement. Anybody have any issues, suggestions for changes? Are we blessing and moving on? So Corey, since you wanted to start here, what are your thoughts?
Let's have a refresher real quick. So the difference between a tagline, a
Yep.
vision statement, and a mission statement.
Yep.
Tagline is kind of more of an advertisement, sort of kind of pitch your town.
Yep.
A mission statement is sort of one that I feel wraps up your pillars, or whatever we're calling them. 1, 2, 3. It's now 4, or do we rolled the fourth into a third, right? Okay. So then your vision statement is the one that's supposed to sort of be unattainable.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we kind of just abandoned trying to figure out whether what we had is a vision or mission statement, and we don't need
Well,
both.
can I just sort of interject a little bit here?
Yeah.
I think Corey's on the right track. I would reverse the order, though. Go with your vision statement first. That's your overall vision of what your city is and what you want it to be. The mission is how you're going to get there. Your tagline is then how you sell it.
Right.
That's how they interact with each other. So start with your vision. What is Baldwin City today, and what's it going to be 5-10 years from now? What do you see?
Yep.
I mean, that's
I think that's
that's,
fair.
that's what
kinda-
a vision is.
Yeah.
And probably unattainable, but
What should be?
what do you
get
think
to them, what
of?
do you do?
Yeah, what do you think of all
Guess we'll
those?
start another town.
It's arbitrary. It may be a table or
Subjective.
some.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very
maybe. I mean, it's
yeah.
subjective, but that's
No,
that's all
I
part of the
agree.
process.
I
so.
think it's kind of how we started, but then we
Yeah,
kind of went back and forth with Patty, and
Right.
she kept saying no.
I don't think we ever clarified the
We never
difference.
did.
We were getting in
Yeah.
the weeds about
No.
the differences.
So they
yeah.
just got mingled, and then we never really sorted all that out. But I really think everybody does have a vision. When you say Baldwin City,
Right.
you have a vision in your mind.
Right.
When you say Lawrence, you know what Lawrence looks like. When you say Baldwin City, I think you know what it looks like, whether it's Maple Leaf or downtown or it's Baker University
Right.
or whatever. You have a mental picture in your mind of
Right.
what our city looks like, and that's what we're trying to reduce to words. And then-
Yeah, but it's not today. what it
Right.
looks
Yeah.
like.
What's your vision out? Yeah. What are we going to be?
I
What
think
is
what you're
yeah.
saying is more the tagline. What do I say that people
Yeah.
either go, yeah,
Right.
that's it, or now
Right.
they know.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's kind of where we got lost in
Thanks,
all this.
Yeah.
Is that we kind of they interact, but they're not
Yeah.
the same things. There's
Yeah.
a relationship there. But to me, the vision statement that's got to be defined first, and then your mission is how we achieve that, and our tagline there is going to follow all that up,
Right.
summarize it basically. So
No, yeah.
if we can
No,
do that, I think it'll drive everything else.
Yeah.
That vision will be, whatever we're trying to achieve here as a city in the next few years,
Yeah.
whatever that's going to be with all the opportunities that we got.
Yeah, I just know
us.
we've struggled to get past that
Right.
before, so I'd love to get past that
Right.
tonight. But
That's why I wanted to
Yeah.
start with it.
I know.
Two years of this, we got
So, yeah.
I think
One step
they're.
forward, 2 steps back. That's how we've been doing it.
Yeah,
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
No, I agree.
I,
If we
I
can
think
get
if we
there,
can get past this, the
Oh,
other ones,
I-
I mean, when the full council sees the other ones, it'll make sense.
or we'll see where we
Have to.
are off, and we need to adjust what we brought forward.
Yeah.
So I'd love to have a vision, mission statement figured out.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure how we can get there.
Well, it's going to be uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable because you're saying something that's almost make believe. You're saying something that's
It should be,
yeah.
but it should be what you aspire to.
Right.
Right.
Right, but that's sometimes uncomfortable to say,
Okay.
So it's I'm talking more about like theater exercises that used to have, where you just pitch anything,
Right.
blurt anything out,
I'll just throw it out there because it's uncomfortable. But to me, I don't know how you can be, a city and not aspire to be the most livable city. I mean, because it's very subjective. It will mean something different to everybody, but that's what everybody would think would want to have as their city, right? It's, hey, this is the best place to live.
To inspire to make it better than what it can be.
Yeah, for me, I mean, if we,
That's what I'm hearing. Your aspirations and dreams to make it better than better than it can be?
Well, we don't know it can't be, but yeah, to me, it's just, that's the ultimate, goal.
That's the dream.
And so livable can be defined in all these things, right? Quality of life, everything fits into that, and it means something, so it has to be across the full spectrum. So I'm not debating or defending I just threw it out there.
Yeah,
As a
that's what I'm
starting
saying.
point.
This is why it's uncomfortable.
This is why it's uncomfortable.
No, that's mine too. Just,
Yeah.
I like livable. For me, Baldwin evokes livable. To me, evokes bedroom community. Like it's a place where you drive to, you live in it, and then you can go drive around, be other places. To me, it's like I would like to transition livable more into a home, more of a place where a lot of people maybe who haven't been here before have lived places, but they never felt like they were at home. And I feel like Baldwin can give you that more than any other town in the area.
That makes sense. I could kind of see, yeah. So living and being a home are two separate things.
Right, right.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. I like that. I just don't know how to wordsmith.
I don't either.
Right. That's
You can start off with a home, and then just
we've got the start of the sentence.
blow past it.
This is where you need professionals.
A livable home.
A livable home with a roof.
I think he's talking about a sense of community.
Right.
And I think that's kind
I
of
am.
what we've been talking about for a long time.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that it's a small town that still has a community flavor to it. We're not. I think when people talk to me about a Baldwin feel and they say we don't want to be Gardner, so they don't want to be Johnson County that blows up into one subdivision after another overnight. We still want to keep the small town feel that we have, and people like that because they can interact. They can come down and scream at interact productively with council members or whatever, and they know faces and they feel comfortable just talking to anybody. They know we're police officers. They know whatever. So you still have that small town feel, and I don't think anybody here in Baldwin City wants to lose that. So if we can incorporate that sort of community spirit or home feel or whatever into our vision statement, I think that'll be important.
So is that something we aspire to, or we have it and want to lose?
I think we have it now, and as we're going to talk about growth, and that's also
Aspire to
part
not
of
lose
our. We don't want to.
Yeah.
We don't want to lose.
Yeah.
it.
Inspire
Yeah.
to not lose.
Yeah,
Which
aspire to not
is
lose.
part of a vision,
Right.
You want to retain certain attributes.
Yeah, I've heard that repeatedly since I've been here, so it means something to people.
Right. And it's that stuff that's
It
not,
does.
you feel it, but you can't quite define
hard
it.
to
Right.
explain.
Right.
It
Yeah.
may be a
Right.
little different to everybody, but I think it does mean something when you say that.
Okay, so
Trying to think how you can define that in a word.
Well, I think it's like a strong sense of community connectedness. We aspire to be an inclusive community that welcomes everybody, and they all feel like they're part of the community, so they all have that connection somehow.
That was a lot of words.
There's a lot of those, yeah. So hey, it's a vision. I'm having visions here.
Wordy visions.
Already, yeah. But
So
whatever.
why don't we start with the current vision statement and break that either down or build it up to what we want instead of trying to reinvent.
Yeah.
Because that's a mission statement.
No, that was our vision statement.
Well, I mean, it's more of a,
kind of both.
it's more of a
it was
tagline.
called both.
It's kind
Yeah.
of both. Yeah.
It's kind of a tagline too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think our vision is to become this community that is, growing and prosperous and whatever. And the way you get there is to build a safe, affordable, vibrant,
I think that's
interactive.
key. What I picked up on, we want to continue to grow, but we don't want to lose the small town sense of community or home.
So why not the safest, most affordable,
What's that?
small community with opportunities for all?
Okay. No problem.
Because then you're wanting to be that. That's your aspiration.
Mhm.
You could
Safest,
start out by
most
saying to
affordable.
become the safest, like the.
Now, the vision is
that
what,
thing.
yeah, I mean, that's what the vision is.
Right.
It's, what we want to state is the end state.
Right.
That we're probably never get there. So you state it like you're there, right?
So just for like reference, I work at Evergy. We pay a lot of money for someone to come in and do our branding and do our company strategy.
Yeah.
And our vision is to become the best energy company, period. And that's it.
Exactly.
Something short,
Yeah.
simple,
So,
aspirational.
yeah, I think that's, and I come from a, company that did the same thing, and they have that gigantic aspirational, to be the best solutions integrator in the world, period. It's like, okay. But that's the aspirational part, and the same aspiration there is just that you want to be the best. And how do we define the best here? What does that look like? It doesn't mean the biggest for us, obviously. What else doesn't it mean? Maybe we start.
I'm going to rip off a little bit of Facebook's vision statement. People use Facebook to stay connected with friends and family, to discover what's going on in the world, and to share and express what matters to them. I mean, I just want to use the bones of that, but I'm saying, if you say, people call Baldwin home to, and then continue maybe down that road.
I'm looking up city
Yeah, let's
vision
just steal from
statements.
people.
Yeah, let's.
By the way, yeah.
I think the city of Albany's is pretty good.
What's there say?
Let's see. The city of Albany is a collaborative regional leader delivering exceptional services and enhancing quality of life while fostering an atmosphere where citizens and businesses can thrive.
That's about all the longer it should be. Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a little wordy for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little too wordy. I know.
Unless you're at Albany.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause that's a state capital. So, all right.
Right. It's a bigger city.
And we can start small, and this is the first iteration of many that this will change. So it doesn't have to be perfect to move forward. And you're not going to be able to think about it all tonight. Your best thoughts will come when you wake up in the morning or at night and you go, oh, so that's what we got to bring back is now that, thought about it, this is what, So it's almost like we need to come up with kind of a thought process of maybe some of the words we want to include in there or the ideas.
I think that's a good place to start, is just kind of think of adjectives that you think of when you think of Baldwin City, or what you want Baldwin to become.
Become or maintain.
Right.
All right, start throwing them out.
Wait a minute, I got a question. I don't see anything listing here, or maybe it's not necessary.
No, we're not talking about sewers.
We might.
I see nothing here that pertains to the churches,
Churches?
and supporting of churches or whatever. Is that something we don't need to do, or?
Those are comments that the community made at our work sessions that we had with the community.
Yes,
So,
when we sat down and did all that. Okay. That was a year ago, right?
Yeah, it was last fall.
Yeah, it was cold. I remember.
Yeah, we were getting to the fall.
We got small, we got
These are comments that came
home,
up.
it's not an adjective, but what would the adjective be?
Palatial?
What?
I don't know. What's the adjective of this noun?
You just made me snort.
I heard safe and affordable a lot. Usually it's a
Mhm.
common thing.
Those are
theme
good.
Yeah.
is across it.
Yep. Okay.
I don't even remember for sure if this was in the Albany one. Maybe that's why it's in my head. But it's a word I think of when I think of Baldwin is collaborative. There's a lot of organizations and citizens that work together. You don't really get that in all communities.
So do we have a vision to be connected, or is there a better word than that?
Connected is good.
It's different than collaborative,
Yeah.
but connected is overused,
But it might take on a new meaning if you say connected while also in a way isolated. Like you're out of the city, but you're also connected to the city. It gives that
Keep
feel.
going. I'm not tracking what you're saying.
So I think the appeal of Baldwin, and we've mentioned it a couple times, that you're not in Johnson County, you're not in Gardner, but I feel like with the culture shock that we've had with the pandemic, everyone's working from home now. We have high-speed internet here. You can feel connected to the city while at the same time not having to walk out your front door and be in it.
Unconnected could mean two different ways
Yeah.
with, the sidewalks and trails and different
Mhm.
things that we're trying to
Yeah.
get done and complete.
Right.
Yeah, connected is, both people and
Infrastructure.
infrastructure
Right.
Right.
could be. So just to maybe get some more thought process. So, as I was walking up with my dog multiple times, so, it's kind of where I do most of my thinking. So, and of course, the committee's given me a lot of grief about it, after I told them where all my thinking comes from. But I can't.
It's really the dog that's.
It is.
Are you talking to your dog, Scott?
They said,
She talked to
Tell
you.
us what your dog said.
Wow, yeah. Okay.
Wonder why I heard you murmuring the other day.
Not here to judge.
So a tagline, we mentioned that, it's something, so as I'm thinking about how would I explain Baldwin to somebody in one sentence? If you had one sentence, it's not gonna be perfect, but you take your best shot in my mind. So I thought about everything I think about Baldwin. And it was small town lifestyle with historic charm, a university atmosphere, and metropolitan access. Those are the things I think we have. Now, there's a lot more than that, but I think someone in my mind could get a sense for, I kind of understand what that community might look like, because I kind of know what a university atmosphere is. In my own mind, I know what small town is. I kind of know what historic is, and that means you're near metropolitan places. So to me, that's what we are, and we could, and that. So then it's like, okay, is that what we want to be, and what's the vision look like for that? Do we get better access? Do we enhance the atmosphere around the university or something else? Historic charm, do we enhance that? And the small town lifestyle is probably what we're doing plus some. But I've had that as a tagline in my head. Just if I had to spit one out, that would be it.
Yeah. That hits all the bases.
Mhm.
Well, the big ones anyway.
Yeah.
I like that tagline.
Yeah.
There might be some more things we could throw in there as we think about it. But
Well, stop talking and let's just decide on the tagline.
no, we aren't doing a tagline, but that is to be thinking about vision. If those are how we would describe, to Glenn's point, what we are today, what does that mean we want to look like in the future, right? As a starting point. So we got small home feel, homestead.
Small town feel.
Yeah.
We could put green in there too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Should include that as
Yeah.
I feel like instead of small, you could say hometown. I don't know anybody who calls a big city their hometown. Baldwin, your hometown, you
True.
think of a small
Yeah.
Midwestern town.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the adjectives we have in the current one. Do we want to just rule out? I mean, so vibrant and interactive have not been discussed.
Well, we were talking about vibrant the other day. Casey and I were. I kind of feel like it has its place. I'm also open to booting it, but I kind of like it in the vision statement the more I think about it, because you can't quite define it, but you know how it makes you feel.
Right.
And I feel like that's kind of a.
It's like arts and culture.
It kind, yeah, I feel,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can hit on that. Yeah, it makes me feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost like that it's undefinable. No, we don't
Right.
need to toss around what does it mean, because I think it's kind of the point that it doesn't. I don't know if you want too many of those in there.
Right.
Probably have to limit it a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe we get down to, and so the other thing I'm thinking about is then your mission statement needs to support your vision. And are we gonna have things in there that we can point to that are gonna enhance the vibrancy?
I was gonna say, I also like the word interactive. Again, I'm okay if it's scrapped, but I actually had a citizen the other day say, I love living here. It's such an interactive community. And I thought, I know where that word is.
Right, okay.
Because she said she moved here from Wellsville and they never did anything.
This exercise always makes me like think of I always go to the Cheers intro from Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows your name,
Yeah,
right? It's like,
yeah. That's
So
Baldwin.
let's dissect that one real
Why
quick.
would a
We've got
guy
collaborative
in a
and
bar think of that?
we have collaborative and
Good call.
connected.
Right.
So interactive, collaborative, and connected. It's fairly close.
Yeah, those are.
So
We
do
need to-
we use one or two or three?
I think you need to use one. I mean, you got, what, seven words already
Yeah.
done, which
I think connected, kind of,
I like connected the best because I think you can point to numerous different things
right.
with connected.
I think that kind of, that covers
Okay.
the other
Everybody
two
agree
words.
with that as opposed to interactive and or collaborative?
Out of those three, I like Connect. Yeah.
What about you guys down?
Yeah, sounds good.
So that one stayed. So safe also staying in the vision?
I think it's important.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's almost one of the core pillars of the community should.
I feel like safe is something that can be defined in multiple ways too, like not just safe community with respect to crime, but also the way we perform our jobs, right? So we have city workers going out every single day doing stuff, and it's important for them to have the tools that they need to be safe and do everything that they're doing. So I feel like safe is multi-defined as well.
Anybody disagree? Leaving that in? Correct.
And I like hometown. I think that we have to almost put that in, just because I think that's what,
Okay.
talking tonight.
It captures a lot of
We'll
it.
fit it in
Yeah.
there,
Hometown
see what
feels-
it looks like when we piece all these together.
Right.
Take another stab
Yeah,
at it.
a hometown
Like a
feels
Mr.
safe to me
Potato
too. It
Head.
almost
Yeah.
hometown almost checks the safe
You get rid of
box.
small. If you do hometown.
Hometown takes care of small, and it takes care of home.
Yeah.
It almost takes care of safe too, because a hometown kind of feels like a safe town. It's just almost undefinable type deal. I just want to avoid a thing where we're listing
At this
adjectives.
point, safe could also be, our employees.
Sure.
And how we treat them, which is kind of independent of the size of the community.
Right.
So, but we might have to lose one if we get too many. So affordable, anybody disagree with having that? Keep it in there?
Is there a different way to say it?
Punch up your authority.
economically
Who's
friendly.
got who's got it up?
What's another way to say affordable?
Cheap.
I think economical might be a little bit better than cheap. Economical, fair, low cost, modest, bargain, budget, cost effective.
What's the second one you said?
Economical.
Valueless, worthless.
Check out Rock Bottom
Rock bottom, that's it.
bargain based fire sale. I don't think you're gonna find it in the thesaurus. Maybe if there's a way to say it without it being a different word. Maybe it might be one you can't put a spin on. Just have to say it right on the nose.
Yeah.
I almost
And
think
then
just
when you
go-
wake up in the middle of the night and you think of it,
Ah.
and let us know.
Yeah.
Glacial.
That's what I did, exactly.
No, that's
Corey's word of the night.
not our tagline there. I don't
I
know.
wanted to use it correctly. I didn't.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be as fun.
Pace of change is.
All right, we'll just leave that in for now unless anybody objects. So small town, so really, what we have to talk about is green. Do we want to mention that as a vision? Do we want to, is that where we want to get to as a community?
20 years from now, we're probably going to regret that we didn't say it.
Yeah, I agree. I think so.
And so thinking ahead, which is, I'm just throwing this out there. I don't disagree that we shouldn't have it in there, but this is going to stake us into putting things in place and doing things to get there.
It also might work against the word affordable.
So-
At least I know from like average use standpoint, the cleaner the energy, the more expensive the energy.
So that's a great point, but all these are probably going to be diametrically opposed at some level. Certainly, when it comes to budget,
Yeah.
you're going to have a fixed amount, and you're going to be able to do some things and not the other, but that's okay, because then it becomes prioritization. What do we think this year we need to do now, and then maybe that thing slides to next year. And if it keeps sliding, you know what? It really wasn't part of the vision, right? Because if everything is always more important and you never do anything, it was just lip service. But it gives us a starting point, and we can put it in there if that's what we want to do, and then see how we go through the next pieces of this. Maybe at the end it doesn't fit, or we don't see how it fits. But if we think it needs to be in there for future councils that may want to use this as a starting point, we should put it in there. And we are doing some things already in that space. We could do more, and this maybe will drive us to think about that a little bit.
Can you sub out green for the word responsible?
Probably renewable.
Responsible is so broad.
Yeah.
Responsible in what area? In
Well,
fiscally responsible.
That's kind of
I
the
was gonna
point.
say, it's kind of back to the connection.
So let me ask you this: how would you put something together to measure that?
The vision statement's not supposed to be.
No, but the things you do underneath that should be supporting your vision statement. And so, what things we would be doing that? And maybe there are. I'm just asking because
Yeah.
I'm trying to think through. Then how does this flow down into what our mission's going to be, and our strategies for that mission?
We won't be able to be irresponsible anymore.
Well, I'm just trying to think of it to where I'm trying to avoid just listing adjectives.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
trying to think of how you use it in
Yeah.
a sentence. So when you could
Yeah.
say responsibly grow, or to where you can combine things to make it to where it's not just we're Baldwin, we are colon blah blah blah
Right.
blah. You want it to be a sentence. You want it to flow and be somewhat cohesive.
Don't disagree at all.
I mean, and maybe that's, Scott, maybe you were on the right track to where you said, maybe we look at where we've gotten to this point and put down responsible as kind of there. And now we go to the next step on what the committee has brought tonight and kind of look, and then we can cross-reference with these words and say, okay, this is where these could fit to kind of get a bigger, whole picture instead of getting tunnel vision on the vision statement.
Yeah.
Because I think we've made some good strides on the vision statement tonight. It's completely different than what we started with. So.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say completely, but it is different.
Well,
Safe, affordable. I'm just going to write these down. We'll just keep these. Safe, affordable. It kind of ties it off.
interactive.
Interactive, responsible hometown.
How do we decide on connected, or did we decide on
We
We
decided
did
on
interactive.
interactive.
Oh, sorry.
No, we said connected.
Oh, this would connect.
We said connect.
Connected to.
Connected versus interactive.
Yep. Oops, sorry. Good catch.
That's why we pay you $3.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Connected. I'm looking at my scratch outs. Connected, responsible hometown for all.
Maybe this is something the committee could work on.
Well, what I'd like to see happen is, as you guys have thoughts about this, send it to,
Amrock is something to that.
no, or just send it to the committee, Sent to Amber, just, and she'll send it to the committee, just so we're safe, about thoughts about any of this that we cover tonight. And then we can aggregate all that, and the next one will come back and say, here's all the input we've gotten, and here's the next step, so.
Does that work for everybody?
Well, I gotta go. My son got into a car accident.
Oh, no.
There is a lot of
He's-
information there.
Hopefully it's okay.
He's texting me, so that's good.
Was he delivering pizzas?
No.
Different son?
No.
Same one?
But yeah, that son. Love him.
Tell him to slow down on delivering those pizzas. People can wait for their food.
There's so much stuff here that it's hard for me to sit and siphon something out and put a bunch together.
So that's what the committee has worked on.
Yeah, I got it.
Well, and that's what, after tonight, as you think about it, jot your thoughts down.
Yep.
Get them to Amber, and they come back here, and then we bring them back to everybody. This
This
can't just be what you think tonight, because it won't work. It won't work for any of us. It's hard to
It
do.
may not work in 3 months.
Well, we got time. We got 3 more years to get it out, so
No, you don't.
you do. All right,
Good
so,
luck, Charlie. You don't know if I got that much or not.
all right, so we're gonna go to, the next step. So what we're gonna talk about is, we talked about how we put all this data in these focus areas. And then the committee came up with, these key performance areas in these focus areas. So for municipal services, those 4 are what we came up with out of all this. And so the intent is to not necessarily use all these 4, any of these 4. We can change some of these 4, but to come up with what we want as key performance areas. And I guess before we do that, what we talked about in the committee, and I know I didn't show this to the committee, I was trying to visually represent kind of what this path is going to be. So let me bring this up real quick. And this is open for, obviously, discussion. But so what we're talking about tonight, so focus areas, municipal services, you have economic development, you have quality of life. So there'll be basically 3 of these. And then the key performance areas that we're talking about tonight. I just threw one up there that we had in there. So we'll pick a key performance area. There's a suggestion of one of them for municipal services. And then what we need to do is obviously something in there needs to be definable. If we talk about core services, what are those? And then the idea is to, for these key performance areas, have some strategies that are measurable around progress. Okay, so, and I'm just using this as an example. We haven't agreed upon this, but if this is a key performance area, provide safe, affordable, reliable, diverse core services, we need to be able to have strategies around safety, around those services. What does that mean? How do we measure that? What's our plans to enhance that or improve that? And then is it measurable? And can we determine if we're getting better? So affordability would have its own set of strategies, 1 or more, that are measurable, and we would measure those. Because, the thought process is if you've got these key performance areas that aren't measurable, they aren't really performance areas, right? It's like vibrant. How would you measure that? If you can define it, you can measure it. So when you think about these, make sure that when we come up with these, that we have the thought that we're going to have to come up with some strategies. And by the way, the department heads are going to be a big part of this. If we present these are the key performance areas, what would you suggest? And what I would like to suggest is every committee take these key performance areas that we come out of tonight and spend some time in your committees and say, here they are. How does this committee, what kind of strategies would this committee need to develop to improve these? And just that's the stuff that we then bring back, and then the strategies are formed, the KPIs are formed, and then you're off and running. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Scott, is the idea too that the strategies might be a little bit debatable, and that's stuff that possibly could change over the next 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
Based off of who's in council, based off of what type of other external factors are going on. But what shouldn't change, at least in my opinion, is this focus area, this key performance area, and how we're defining it. but then the strategies underneath are more interchangeable. Am I thinking about that right?
No, you are. I mean, reality is all of it's
Yeah, I was
changeable.
gonna say. Yeah.
But if it's working and it seems to be the right thing, why would you change it?
Right.
But to your point, environment, economics are going to change the strategies based on, maybe not the strategies, maybe some of it, but certainly a prioritization of what strategies you're going to go implement that year.
Right.
So these strategies are probably going to be near term, longer term, could be multiple strategies within a specific KPI. So we're going to go back to discuss the key focus areas, but keep in mind what we come up with needs to be able to drive strategies that are measurable. Okay?
Is that gonna be hard? I don't understand exactly how we're gonna make that work,
Could
because
you give us an example of what you,
Okay.
as strategy?
Yeah.
And then how you measure it?
Yeah.
'Cause
So.
I'm kind of lost.
Okay, so let's use reliability KPI for services, right? So strategy would be to, what's that you want? Exactly. So
I mean,
that's where. So the easy one is to talk about the one we've had on there forever, the project we've had, which is a project. It's not a strategy. It's to bury power lines, right? So if this, if the city department has decides that, hey, we measured your reliability, your uptime based on what we can control, which are our transmission internally, was this last year. We need to improve upon that. Well, they can say, well, we need to bury power lines. So our strategy is going to be bury power lines starting with this prioritization list. That would be a strategy to affect the reliability of that core service, i.e. electrical utility, that's measurable.
and services all.
So it is very hard. That's why I wanted to bring it up while we're talking about key performance areas, because you could throw stuff out there that you just, how am I going to find a strategy around that? So it hopefully will limit us as to kind of what we're thinking there. Does that make sense? Was that an example that resonated? And a strategy for reliability could be a second substation. That could be a strategy to provide reliability, for the electrical grid. Those are the things that you would have as strategies into that KPI. Okay. And so think about the strategies as
More
projects,
police officers.
Yeah, they're all mostly capital stuff, right?
capital stuff, could be process stuff.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, and that's why this group alone is not going to come up with the right strategy.
Sure.
Everything would be done straight for the whole community as opposed for certain entities, right?
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
Everything that you did, like we talking about burying the electric lines, that's for the whole community. So almost everything that you want to come out of that would be for total community use, would that be correct?
So not everything that's done affects the full community on every project. So, pick the water line, coming in, that's going to improve, a portion of it, of the city. But not everything that's done, every strategy, every project's done that positively affects the entire city.
Jerry, I think the way I'm looking at it and how I'd hope our staff would look at it is say, okay, in each year, our reliability is X for our electrical system, but at 10th and Orange, we lose that transformer. That's 9 times out of 10, that's where the power goes out. So then I would expect them in their strategy to say, priority number 1 is to replace the transformer.
I got you, yeah.
Yeah, because if I can get rid of those, everything else stays equal, my performance is going to go up.
That would be the first squirrel that got killed, is that it?
Yeah, and the second, third.
All right, let's get back to these, see if we can hammer these out. So, oh, you got them on your page. Okay, good. Okay, so let's start with that first one that we just looked at, under municipal services. Thoughts?
The only thought I have, just looking at the first one, is how would we measure diverse core services? I mean, it's
Great
either a core
question.
service or it's not a core service.
Well, the way I took it, and I think, Austin, this was yours, so I'll let you jump in and
I can't remember why we chose the
Well,
word diverse.
So diverse to me is you got electrical, you
Solar.
got solar.
Yeah.
Okay, that
You
makes
know,
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's where I thought.
that's why you have to kind of define what core services are. So diversity around services. So your core services could also be, water, wastewater, so those are not,
Yep, that makes,
yeah.
after you said that,
Yeah.
that makes complete
Yeah.
sense. Yep.
Or you can leave it out because core services is just, we can just list them all. Either way. And if that confuses people, maybe we just call it core services.
Any or all.
Or diverse utility, something just to kind of hone it down so that you think of utility, because I think core services, I'm just, utilities, I'm thinking public safety,
Yep.
specifically.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you look at what we offer. If you think about what we offer, what are the services,
Well, can you remove the word core? It might make more sense if the word core is gone. Diverse services.
That opens it up really wide.
Yeah, and then we define it under the key, before we did the, KPIs, we defined what those, diverse services are. And just list them out. Okay, everybody good with that?
Another word for safety.
In the safe piece of that, let's talk
Ooh, I
about
like
that,
that.
Austin, because that, I think what you were thinking there, we talked about in the committee was really around, employee safety, in delivering those services.
Yeah, and I think I'm sometimes wearing my Evergy hat too much because what Evergy as a company does is so dangerous, right? When you're generating and delivering energy to employees. So we're doing safety topics at the beginning of every meeting.
Yeah.
We're always talking about our safety recaps of how many injuries we've had and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
when I think about what the community does and provides, it's dangerous kind of, right? There's your
Right.
police officers, your firefighters, your people that are fixing power lines. So it's important, I feel like, that those people feel safe and have what they need. I think that should be a priority too.
Well, and our community. I mean, if we're low on staff for firefighters or for police officers, that should be. That's where my.
I think that's where that came from.
So thinking through that, how would we then move that down into a KPI with strategies? How would we measure that? And
Well, if the chief, says, well, if you want better safety, then I need one more officer, or I need, 2 more cars, so that way we have more reliable vehicles to provide. That's kind of where my mind went.
Good thing, talk about it too, right?
Yeah.
and the utilities. Okay, I'm good.
Or maybe last year we had 10 safety-related accidents,
Right.
and this year we had 5 because we have better training,
Right.
more officers or something like
Yep.
that to, I don't know.
Okay. It's in. Maintain critical and historic infrastructure while modernizing outdated infrastructure. Thoughts?
Sounds great to me.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
I do too.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Ain't no other way to skin that cat.
Nope.
I'm just thinking down through the next steps here, so let's think through that.
I don't love how the word, and I even wrote this, but I don't like how the word infrastructure is used
I
twice.
didn't either, but I didn't have anything better to put in there, or I
Yeah,
suggested it.
I think it's okay to use infrastructure twice, because you're talking about 2 different types of infrastructure.
So what do we call infrastructure? So on the outdated, are we calling buildings infrastructure, or are we calling?
I'm thinking sewer lines. When I think
Well,
about dated infrastructure,
I'm thinking-
Here we go.
Yeah.
Totally
Jerry, I don't want to get you on your tangent.
No. So, right, so the historic piece may be more of the buildings and other things.
Brick road,
Brick streets, and then the outdated infrastructure would be the non-historic infrastructure that the city runs on.
You could say modernize while maintaining critical and historic infrastructure.
Or you could also say maintain critical and historic infrastructure while modernizing.
That's why.
Utility.
Outdated
So like, so you can't even remember what you said?
Yeah, I can. Modernize and maintain critical historic infrastructure. More modernize while maintaining critical and historic infrastructure. However you want to say it. It's a way of avoiding the redundancy.
Yeah. Yeah, if you didn't put while in there, it would have just limited you to the critical and historic.
Right.
What if you put modernizing outdated utility infrastructure?
That's
more.
well, you missed that preserving the historic piece. The preservation piece is missing there.
No. I'm sorry. I'm just talking about the second half. Of it.
Oh, okay.
Just modernizing outdated utility infrastructure. So that way you're not, because to me it's kind of fighting against each other because historic infrastructure is probably outdated infrastructure. It's historic, just trying to get it more narrowed down in their two words.
All right, let's make a decision here. What do we want to craft something in there?
Once you leave it like it is, I think everybody understands it.
Okay with that. And then, like I
At least the
said,
thoughts there. You can polish it later.
iterations, we will be, like I said, just lob them in and let's
Yeah.
polish this up as we go. Okay, attract, develop, and retain quality staff. Bubbled up a lot.
Yeah, but I think those are all measurable
They are.
They are.
pretty easily.
Thoughts on this one? On that one? You good with that?
Good with that.
Yeah, the word educates in the word develop, so I think that's the only other thing I was going to add. But yeah,
Maximize transparency and feedback through comprehensive communication plan. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's pretty.
What are you calling comprehensive communication?
So comprehensive means whatever you can possibly think of. So communication would be multi-directional to the city to the citizens, citizens to the city.
Current social media.
Yeah, and then the communication is all forms that we currently have available and that might be available in the future. And we can list them all. And the plan should.
I got it.
The plan should rationalize all the current available, and maybe some ideas about new ones that we want to try to get into if there's a need for it in the city. So again, we can polish this up. We're good with the concept there. So anything else in these key performance areas of municipal services that needs to be in here that we haven't touched on? Again, this is what we came up with. So as you go back to your committees, this might be another thing to say, hey, what are we missing here? And get some feedback from the staff and the citizens. Okay. All right, let's go to the economic development focus area. 3 of them here, pretty straightforward. There's attract and retain businesses and residents to the city.
So I read through this. What about just attract and retain businesses and residents?
yeah, yeah. To the city was kind of
I thought
you
the same
can't
thing, but I
retain
didn't want
residents to the
read
city.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think, Austin?
Yeah,
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah, it's kind of like this is the city, so it just kind of
Yeah.
goes without saying. So
How about hometown?
touche, buddy. I like it. Increase tourism by promoting the range of events, local businesses, and family-friendly atmosphere. Grew too large. Oh, year-round.
Increase.
The city offers year-round.
I was thinking we trim that down to just increase tourism, didn't we, or something like that?
Well, we talked about it,
it.
but we thought we'd just
Okay.
throw it out to this group and see.
Yeah, oh, you're right. Okay.
Because what we discussed in committee was the things after increased tourism are kind of the strategies,
They are.
where those would end up falling down into what we would think would probably come up in the strategy piece.
If you increase tourism, you're still.
Because when you say buy, you're basically saying how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
You say tourism, you're still gonna have to have local businesses, aren't you? You're gonna have to continue with that? Or you're just gonna, if you increase tourism, you're gonna promoting the range of events, local businesses and so on down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those are gonna show up, but down in the strategies of how we're gonna increase it will be everything you just said. But the goal is to increase it, not necessarily say how in the goal. That makes
Yeah,
I think it should just be increased tourism.
I'm feeling,
sense? So,
I'll stop.
question, how are we gonna measure that?
Sales tax.
That's a start. You can convince me that it's gonna be definable? I guess we can look at event days, but we're gonna have tourism, you get tourism going on, not necessarily just around large events. We might not be able to measure it, but I think around large events, you can use sales tax as a metric, but you really can't use it any other time. So if somebody comes in just to go see, the cabin on campus or whatever.
But I don't think you can ever be able to measure that type of.
Well,
you can,
I disagree, because we might be able to task those, if there's organizations that do that, I'm sure they're capturing some kind of attendance information, wouldn't you?
I know Blackjack has a QR code, and they can tell me how many people have scanned the QR code in X number of days.
right.
So that's the only way.
I think the word tourism's gonna be completely dependent on sales tax and stuff like that, but maybe exposure or some other word maybe wouldn't be. So it's like if you had, for example, if you had, you wanted to count website visits to your tourist website.
Yep.
Well, there's,
You can measure that.
Yeah.
It's exposure. Maybe they aren't coming to the town directly,
Yeah.
but there's a strong correlation between those checking out the town and those who are going to end up visiting it.
Yeah, I like that.
to me, there's tourism that appears on a weekly basis, from what I can see or what I think, by the people that come here just to see their son or daughter in a college event.
Yeah.
That look at the campus
Yep.
and go downtown and look around.
Yep.
And those are things that we'll never be able to count.
Yeah, you're right.
And you still gotta classify that as some of it's tourism.
You do, I agree. We're not gonna be able to define this one down to the,
No,
hey,
you're not
but
gonna
we
do
can. we
That's
can
why the
try.
events matter, because
We
those are
can try
constants.
and do whatever we can, but maybe, how about this, increase exposure and tourism? Because they're separate. 'Cause
Right.
We might be exposed and they never, they may never show up,
Right.
or they may buy a house and we wouldn't count that as necessarily tourism, right? But
Right.
the exposure drove them maybe to come in and look at houses.
It might have been tourism that brought them here in the first place,
It could be,
and
right?
they decided to stay. That's what we want.
I run into families once in a while that have relatives or friends come in from some other area, and they're down there at that little breakfast joint. And I get to visit with some of them, and they think this is a fantastic little community. And
It
they
is.
live in Chicago,
Right.
you know? And so you got to classify that as tourism.
Yeah.
You know, I think.
Everybody okay with that and Corey's input, just say increase tourism and exposure?
It's fine.
Because we can measure clicks, on websites, we can measure responses. I mean, part of it means that as we think about strategies, we need to figure out how we actually go do this. And then are we gonna be able to measure what we go do?
Right.
Or why are we doing it? Because we think it'll work? All those questions we ask when we talk about strategy, so.
So you're just you're leaving all this other stuff out?
Yeah.
And now we'll go into the strategy piece. All those things would be part of the strategies.
How about increase tourism by promoting, shoot, I had it.
So as soon as you say buy, you're talking about how you're gonna do it. And that's a
Okay.
strategy.
Okay.
This is a goal.
I will say that most point of sale systems that people use in their restaurants,
Oh, good
etc., track the zip codes of everybody that runs a
Right.
card, and you can know exactly where everyone's coming from.
You're right. So we think about this, we probably can start getting some data that we've never had before we thought
Yeah.
about it. As long as they're willing, as long as they're able to share that PCI data, not everybody necessarily can.
I think you can share. I don't think you want to share specifics, but you can share just general.
Cities?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
Or percentage from regions. That's yeah.
So So Julie, as we get into the strategies, all those things we need to recapture as strategies around how we're gonna go do this.
That's the vibe.
Make sense? Everybody good? Yes? All right.
I want to hear the next one.
This is the most straightforward one of them all.
Get money.
So this one is obviously a focus area. You know, just in my mind, the term economic development, you do that to do this, right? Economic development, it's usually you want to grow your revenue. Now, the city has two ways to do that. Property tax and sales tax. Fairly cut and dry. And, you know, you could throw grants in there, you could throw some other things in there, but you know, as we get into strategies, it's going to be how do we want to grow the property tax? If we do, what we do, and how's that going to grow? And how do we want to grow the sales tax? And any other, you know, revenue opportunities, any other taxes, you know, so those sort of things. So, I mean, I had in here revenue/tax growth, but I think that's kind of redundant because the way that revenue is tax.
Right.
And tax has a pretty bad connotation when you start throwing that out there.
You say revenue to me, you're speaking about the two items that you spoke about, but I can't see how you can put bonds into the revenue growth because that's not something that's continuous. To me, a revenue growth would be something that's continuous by taxes,
Yep.
but your bond is not.
Correct.
Your bond's for so long period of time, so I don't know how we can really throw that in there.
We wouldn't classify a bond as revenue. So we classify it as like a debt, a loan.
Oh, yes, it's a debt.
Right, so it's not really revenue, it's a debt, it's on, yeah, so that's what the revenue would have to go pay for, is the bonds. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody okay? Really need to understand why if you're not. You had that look on your face, Corey.
No, I got it.
All right.
Can I talk about the sewer now?
No.
Not yet. We're almost through this. Last one, quality of life, key performance areas. Foster a family-oriented culture through access to housing, events, venues, and services.
You can stop at culture.
Huh. Yeah, so then you got strategies after that.
Right.
Yep.
I agree.
Through is another word for buy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
Anybody have an issue with family-oriented culture? I want to hear that one too.
So how would you measure that?
Great question. I like the way you're thinking now. So the way those things are done sometimes around these are surveys where you ask questions around specific things that would try to flesh that out. And then
Qualitative.
Then you repeat those
Right.
over a period of time and you would try to move your scores. Right?
Got it. Yep.
And so what we'd have to do is define family oriented.
Yeah.
But it could be in that questionnaire, right?
Yeah.
That's the only way I would know to really measure that.
Well, wouldn't your population also be just an automatic trigger? Because obviously you have access to housing if your population's growing.
But not necessarily family population. So another metric would be how many families are moving in versus singles.
But your family could be different than my family. I could be a single guy with a couple dogs and that's my family.
No, that's okay.
You could
That's fair.
You know,
No, that's really fair.
you could have the same breakdown of
That's why we have to define family oriented.
Right.
Because what you're saying is it's everybody.
Right.
And this is, I think, trying to be specific to some form of that.
Yeah.
family oriented.
What were you thinking?
I think
Forget if you have
it's
two
activities.
kids, that's what I was saying. Two
A
kids,
dog.
Dog, one dog.
See,
You
to me,
bring up
it's
a great
not.
point.
I mean, it's everybody. I mean,
it's activity based though. It's family oriented things you can go do as a family. Is what I'm.
But he's saying family means something different. So you could be a single person with a dog and that's your family.
So if you have a dog park, I mean that's
But what you described were family events that you bring your kids to. I thought that's what you just said.
There's culture.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying, so zoom out a little bit more. So if you had the same, so let's say you compare yourself to Baldwin and then town B, and you have the same number of kids versus number of adults, same age groups, etc. You have the same breakdown, spread of everybody, and then you'd have two separate answers as to whether or not you felt this was a family-oriented town versus not a family-oriented town. It's that in between. That's why I think the only thing that makes people feel family-oriented and not are the activities that they can go out and do in those towns. That's why I'm trying to say it's activity-based.
That makes sense.
I think it's good. So I took my son one weekend to a Chiefs game, the next weekend to a Royals game, and the Royals game was 10 times more family-oriented than a Chiefs game, right? It's because they have all the
Little K.
stuff for kids to do
Right.
and everything. So when we were writing this, or at least when I envisioned it, family-oriented meaning something like a Royals game where you have activities
Sure.
and stuff to do for that demographic.
Yeah.
I think is what.
And all I'm saying is I think population could factor into
Right.
as a metric to
As
show.
a measurement, yeah, I don't disagree.
Under old school, quit it.
I mean,
Culture falls to me that it's a educational type thing, and it's just exactly what he got through saying. That it falls into a little higher education than it was 15 years before. It moves forward, and I like that. If that's what it is.
Yeah, so thinking about that word culture, he kind of just jogged some of my mind. Is it culture or is it experience? Because culture is
Learning.
different, right?
it
I'm not
is.
sure how you define that.
It is.
It's culture is everything you do family oriented first, or that's your driving culture.
It's how those individual families interact as a community that makes it the culture. So it's the family.
But foster's in there too. So this is so foster a culture is what this is saying to me.
So it's already there, right?
Well, fostering a culture would be, I think, different than fostering an experience. That I think if you do over time, you get a culture.
Okay.
So
Yes.
maybe we get there because
We're missing the timepiece. Yeah.
yeah, culture to me is
Right.
If you create enough experiences, you get a culture.
that is your culture.
Right.
Yeah.
Your culture kind of is what you have done,
Right.
how you do things. And until you do them, you really don't have a culture.
So you are an artist, and you are very cultured.
So is there another way of saying family oriented? I feel like that's the one that's kind of maybe tripping us up a little bit.
I don't think it does. I just think that family oriented just is different for everybody, and that's okay.
I think we're making too much out of it.
So we want to do experience or culture.
Well, since we're at a starting point, let's say experience is, and then eventually we'll have a culture.
Foster family oriented experiences that
Remove the article, yeah.
turn into
Foster family oriented experiences that will evolve into a culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, either you have it or you don't. If you're doing experiences, do you care whether you call it a culture?
No.
So when you ask the survey, you're not going to ask about the culture. You're going to ask about the experience.
Right. There might be a question. There might be a subjective question about: Do you
think
feel
this
you
is
have a culture? Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Which is sometimes valuable information.
Yeah. I see a lot of surveys in our future.
I think this is kind of confusing a little bit because
Which one?
fostering a family
Okay.
oriented culture, because, if you have a family that's Chinese, their culture is not necessarily going to fall into these different categories. So their family oriented, what they
Culture.
think of is possibly different than what we would think of.
Think about if it's Hispanic or Somalian.
Yeah, or if, maybe the culture, they're Muslim and their family oriented stuff is going to the mosque. I mean, so it's kind of, that's the way I look at it. But if you leave it like that, then it makes more sense to me.
Right.
Then
Just
the
like
culture
this.
piece.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The culture, I think the word culture kind of,
yeah, it's,
Yeah,
It implies
it's-
too
it-
much.
It applies too many different
Yeah.
things.
it implies sameness, that everyone's the same, like culture, like, oh, we're all one culture, when
Right.
we're not. We're a town of many cultures that get to do a lot of cool experiences
Right.
with our families, however you define them.
right.
Right.
I like the way you spun that. All right, foster family oriented experience. How's that? Provide resources, programs, and facilities to support residents' physical, mental, financial, and social well-being.
So again, I think you support residents' physical, mental, and financial and social well-being, and then the provide resources, programs, and facilities is the.
I agree.
Look at it this way and see what everybody thinks.
In that particular reading, I would like to see a little hospital type thing like they have at Eudora that comes in. You're talking about mental and physical and social well-being.
Yep.
Like they have at Eudora.
Yeah.
You know, a little
That would
community
be-
hospital type thing.
That would be a potential strategy we could employ.
I'd
Yes.
like to see something like that come in, and that's it that you got there.
Well, we don't want to specifically talk about how we're going to do that until we get to the
No, no,
strategies.
But it's something to think about.
No, like I said, when we get to the strategies, and you should be bringing that forward. That's something that we need to consider as a strategy around, physical and mental well-being.
Not that I don't think we have pretty good doctors.
Do you have an old copy of this? Just 'cause I feel like we've deleted a lot of strategies. Okay, great.
I will save this as something else. It's not on autosave, so I'll send out the original. I'll have Ameren send out the original. I'm almost 3 years in. I'll get it.
Don't we already have the original?
Well,
Oh,
not
you-
the whole council. I don't think. Oh, yes, the
Yes, we
whole
do.
council does have the
You
original.
should.
Yeah, I think,
It's
yeah.
in the. It's in the.
Patties?
It's in the
Share drive.
share drive.
Yeah.
You'll need to.
It's on the website.
Oh, it's on the
Send out
website.
new one.
Okay,
We'll
good.
call this.
He'll send it to Amara and she'll put it in the share drive.
Yes.
Coma violation here.
So we'll just call this. How are we gonna know this is the working?
Number 2.
Or just the working version, or the. I think the names.
Updated.
Work session version. Work session.
So what we want to keep is the current version.
This is the beta.
No, this is, yeah, it is. But, and then as we change it, this one will be copied in. The new current version will still be called the current version. We'll have all the new changes in it. So I just like to have one we use as the current version that says, okay, if we stop today, this is what we're publishing.
Right.
So we'll figure it out. We'll call it something that's hopefully meaningful. Okay, attract, collaborate with, and support quality of life organizations enabling a wide variety of programs, events, and spaces.
Whew.
That's a lot of strategy.
What's Q?
So-
What's that?
What about attract, collaborate
Quality of
with, and
life.
support quality of life organizations?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say.
Just cut it there.
Yep.
And then the rest of it becomes, this description of what those are. And programs would be strategies. Everybody follow that? So what we're proposing. Sorry, come on. Is, collaborate with and support are probably redundant. We probably need to.
It sounds weird.
It does.
There needs to be a comma after with if you're going to do it that way.
How about just attract and support quality of life organizations?
There you go. Yep. 'Cause if-
I'm getting better at cutting this stuff down.
I mean, but we're getting better at talking about just performance areas and not really doing both,
Right.
which is what the committee kind of jumped to both, right? So this is good. This is what they need to be, this level. This is just develop and execute a comprehensive transportation plan that connects all areas of the city. Again, how about
Transportation plan.
a city that's connected
I guess what would be in a transportation plan?
Sidewalks.
Right.
Crosswalks.
Okay.
Buses potentially.
Okay.
Uber.
Bike lanes, Uber. I mean, seriously, anything.
So traverse. Anything you can traverse. Okay.
Electric stations for cars.
Yeah, that'd be part of the transportation plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So,
I think you could remove that connects all areas of the city.
Can you say that in one word?
comprehensive.
Well,
Yeah.
We're talking about the whole city,
Right.
so we don't need to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
That's
comprehensive
it,
means
yeah.
the whole city, in my mind.
Yeah.
And I wrote this, so it was redundant.
That looks good to me.
Yeah, I think that
Okay.
sounds good.
Yay!
Hey.
Congratulations,
All right.
everybody. This is a big step, to get to this level.
Well, after this, I mean, we need to talk about the vision and the mission.
Yeah,
Right.
That's probably the next work session.
Scott,
yeah.
How they fit together.
thank you for your work.
No, it's.
Yeah.
trust
Thank you
me,
all.
These guys are.
Yeah.
Well,
And Casey and
all of you
Glenn
that's
and
involved, thank you
everybody,
for your
but
work. You've
yeah.
done an excellent
And
job with
what
that.
we don't want to be is just the group coming forward, you know. And I realized thinking about it in the hour and a half we've been together, you need to bring your thoughts, collect them and get them to Ameren, to the committee so that we can bring forward a bigger thought process than just what we had. And that's what I would ask. And then leverage your committees again as more of a wider base of getting that thought, saying, okay, you're going to be responsible for all of this.
Sure.
You know, maybe run through them. Some of it won't apply. Maybe most of it won't apply, but get some feedback from them around now about the strategies. Or if they don't understand what that means, that will inform us that, well, maybe others aren't going to understand. We need to. So I would ask you that you spend some time in your committees going through these, focus areas, and these key performance areas, and just start jotting down ways that we think we can impact these positively. You don't have to have a full-blown strategy, but just some ideas.
So we realize that some of the stuff that we're talking about is 10 years away.
It is, yeah. So your strategies will be near-term, medium-term, long-term. They'll be a long-term strategy. So the second substation was a long-term strategy that's been on the map for a while, but it's been a strategy. And, so those things need to be on there, but the way you'll prioritize those is in the budget process, right? So based on the money we had to
You
spend
got the money.
next year, you're going to decide what's most important that year, and everything gets moved out.
My wages are important next year.
Well, we need to talk about the budget cut we've got on your wages.
No,
It was decided in the Budget and Finance Committee that we're cutting yours in half.
I want $200.
For your full term.
Corey, you had a question?
No, I was just trying to think of a way to make it one less daunting task for just, each one of these services, economic development, quality of life, I could think of a specific committee for each one of those.
Well, that's why I think we need to divide up and assign them.
That's what I'm trying to
That's
get at.
fine. Yes.
And then we bring it to the top,
That's even better.
and then to your committee, and
That's
then,
even better.
Because we don't
Doesn't that
want
feel-
three
I didn't
committees
wanna-
working on it.
I didn't want to limit it to that, but that may get more focus and.
You
well,
got
let's
so much
figure out
stuff
where
that
they
you got there
land. I don't know where they would land.
for committees that you could have a committee
Well,
every other
we can go through
afternoon
And dissolve them, blend in.
for the next year.
Do not give him ideas, Tracy.
Do
Do
what?
not give him ideas.
as long as,
That's dangerous.
So-
It's
Well,
dangerous.
I'm not coming.
Yeah, I know you are.
So-
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
dangerous thinking
So-
right there, man.
Casey's going to take a look at these and then kind of
I'll kind of
decide
divvy them up.
which
between
committees
the
these go to.
Yeah.
And then for kind of first pass on thoughts and strategies.
Well, I have a meeting Thursday with Public Works, so I can go through those municipal.
the services one's
Yeah.
big time, Public Works, yeah.
That's probably where this one.
Public Works and public safety, yeah.
Municipal.
Municipal
Well, the
services and
infrastructure.
public works.
Oh, yeah.
I would get started on, yeah. If you
think
think that's
So
what you're doing.
I'll talk to you.
Yeah, probably besides the staff.
I'm fishing, ain't coming.
Okay.
Right, so it doesn't mean they all fall in.
Wow.
I was
Right,
gonna go through each one of those lines and.
So that's a good way to do it. So maybe divide them out by key performance areas, not just those 3 buckets.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Oh,
That's probably
that's a
makes
better
more
idea,
sense,
yeah.
Okay.
So that way
That'd
it
be
can be
better.
more,
Yeah.
more.
Because
Plan.
three of these might be public safety and one of them may be something else.
So where's,
Municipal services.
Well, and one of them may land in 2 committees.
Should,
Yeah.
definitely.
So like, provide safe, affordable, reliable, and diverse services when land in public works,
Yep.
and it's gonna land in safety.
It is, yeah.
okay, where is the information like this that came from the last council?
We didn't have this.
What were their goals and moves
So
to move forward?
There's a comprehensive plan.
that's why we're doing this, Jerry, because nobody handed us anything.
Nothing?
We have a comprehensive plan from 2008. So my feeling of what that is really how the area would
Grow.
would grow from a zoning perspective. They aren't responsible for revenue growth, all these other issues. Has nothing to do with the comprehensive plan. It's as the city grows, what's the recommended zoning piece of that, right? Industrial, commercial, residential. That's not a strategic plan. So what we're trying to do, this council, is at least leave something that's a starting point for the next council. Maybe a process that we can develop that just makes it easy to change it, track it, and then the real reason is when we have budget discussions, this is gonna come up every time. So
Probably should.
why are we doing this? Where does it fit here? And if it comes up and all of a sudden we need to do it, well, we missed something here, let's go at it, right? So
So when will be the next time that we'll have to do this again?
this is an ongoing process, so we're gonna do this
Every year or every other year?
We talked about
or 4
quarterly.
years?
we're talking about revisiting this quarterly, or maybe 3 times a year, quarterly or 3 times a year.
Oh, yeah.
What we're trying to do this time is get something we can publish on the website as our strategic plan, strategies and everything, and then every quarter, we get together and say, how are we doing? Have we made progress? And then budget season, it's gonna be, okay, how does the budget fit into our strategic plan? So we're gonna be talking about this.
You can't make it work by quarters, huh?
Not
You're gonna have to work it by the year.
work what?
You're gonna have to go back and check by the year to see how far you've gotten with each thing. A quarter is only 3 months.
Well, it may be short, where are we at, revisit, no change, no change, no change, hey, this needs to be changed. It doesn't mean we have these very deep conversations. It could be just revisiting how we doing. Are we missing something? It could be that simple. But if you don't revisit it, then a year later, you're
I
like,
agree that you gotta try it. but,
yeah.
you
So
know,
let's see. If it doesn't work, we'll do it twice a year. And if that doesn't work, then it goes to annual.
No, I kind of think that's the benefit of having it, some of these at a committee level, is because if let's say we have our strategic planning session quarterly, then the month before, we all get an alert at our committees, whoever the chairs are, et
Oh,
cetera,
yeah.
that you need to add an agenda item to review
Yeah.
these either key performance areas, maybe not key performance areas, maybe the focus area, because
Be-
key
be
performance areas might
KPIs.
change.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
And that way you come in hot with some
Yeah.
ideas,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's not less,
yeah. So if we establish a KPI, someone's gonna be responsible for measuring and providing the data.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to make that onerous, but they're going to have to bring that forward.
Right.
Should be easy. And then to your point, then bring the things that are issues
Right.
around these.
I like that.
And then you have some quality meetings around stuff that we all decide is important.
Well, I think the meetings are pretty quality anyway.
They're going to get better.
They're gonna get-
That's like a
Thanks.
political football.
Clinton there, yeah.
All right.
All right, everybody good?
Nice work.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you guys.
Austin.
You too. Yeah.
You'll see you in less than 48 hours again.
Thank you for your time that you spent helping me.
Good time.
We've only begun to work into the bone.
It'll be fun.
I'm really looking forward to going home. We got our roof.
Check on Susan.
Redone today.
Oh, you did?
I think it's still messy.
everybody in our neighborhood
I know everyone in the whole neighborhood's getting it done.